Bean pies. Yes, the staple of African American Muslims. Bean pies.
I can't eat as many as I used to because I'm getting older.
Well, bean pies is a good pie. I mean, you know, we love that bean pie and bean soup also.
You could take a bean pie and a cup of coffee and you can go and work all day. Because you got all the beans, you got the proteins and everything right in that pie. It's just great, you know. And it's hard to find a good one today. Very hard.
You know, bean pie was a thing because we made bean pies. We made bean soup from that same pea bean. We would make the bean soup, and that was a meal in itself because it had the vegetables in it with the bean soup. It had all the vegetables in there, and if you would eat it, it just tasted like it had meat in the soup.
The navy bean, which is what the pie is made out of, Elijah Muhammad always said was one of the healthiest beans in the world. So they use navy bean for just about everything.
Elijah Muhammad, when he was first trying to get African Americans on their feet and to do things for themselves, he wanted to get us out of the slave mentality. And one of the things he wanted us to do was to eat right. So he took soul food away from us, which was pretty hard. And one of the things, he didn't want us eating sweet potatoes. And all African Americans love sweet potato pie. I shouldn't say all, but from the South, you ate sweet potato pie. So we needed a replacement. So they started making bean pie. I'm not sure if it's I don't think it's a white bean. I forget the type of bean that it is. So bean pies replaced sweet potato pies, which all Southern people love. So that's the history of the bean pies, and that's what Muslims will always sell in their restaurants or serve at any of our gatherings, and they're absolutely delicious.
Oh, bean pies. You know, that was a distinct Muslim commodity. We were the Farad Muhammad, when he came in this country in 1930 and helped and got the Honorable Elijah Muhammad started. One of the things he taught Sister Clara Muhammad how to do was make the bean pie, and that was a very a money maker and a sustaining thing that we became known as. As a matter of fact, we became known more for the bean pies than for being Muslim. that was the main. Was one of the things. You're gonna bring me any bean pies, so that was a very big part of our identity, and now it's strange because not too many people know how to make it now. but that was a big part of our identity. We had the bean pie, and they're delicious. I can't eat as many as I used to because I'm getting older.
And it's made from the pea bean and other ingredients are put in there, but it's a pie that has a taste that you can't help but like it when you eat it. And it's famous all over the country wherever you have Muslims, especially those who were in the Nation of Islam, because that's where it became famous, during the Nation of Islam days. And many of us, we still are able to make the pies now. And you don't see it as much now as we did during the Nation of Islam days. But it's a good pie, and it's a good taste. I can't eat it as much as I used to because I have to watch my sugar intake now. I can't indulge in the sweets like I did when I was in my 20s and 30s. But I still enjoy the bean pie. Yeah.
Bean pies. Well, I can consider myself a bean pie connoisseur. I have another friend, his name is John Abdullah. He's the same way. I can tell you right from the beginning whether it's a good bean pie or not bean pie, good one before I even eat it. I can smell it and tell you that. But anyway, because I used to work in this store, the store I was telling you about earlier on Corner Martha Garden Street. We used to make bean pies. Actually, I had a recipe in a little red book. I really don't know what happened to that little red book. I sure wish I had that little red book. Because in this particular little red book, I had the formula. We actually had the formula for making the crust and the whole 9 yards. Because we had to do this where you call it soybean pies in the store. Actually, we had a little bakery in the back of the store. We had the stove, we had the mixer, the whole everything. And there were some people that made very good pies. Seniors, yeah, we are seniors at the time. They could make very good pies. But there are pies made today. They're not really. They may be bean pie, but they're more like a custard. And there's a difference between a bean pie and a custard bean pie. You know, totally different. You know. But you could take a bean pie and a cup of coffee, and you can go and work all day. Cause you got all the beans, you got the proteins and everything right in that pie. Just great, you know. And it's hard to find a good one today. Very hard. You may find one in New York, maybe, or even New Haven. There's a person in New Haven who knows how to make them real well too. I think it's New Haven down that way that know how to make a good bean pie. And yeah, but people don't get involved in it anymore. But the bean pie was the key, brother.
Well, the bean pies, I, for one, don't have a recipe, never did get to learn how to do the bean pies, but there was a sister who would do the bean pies. They were made from pea beans, and they would have to take them through the grinder. They said that was the easiest thing to digest. It was better than sweet potato because sweet potato was hard to digest. So the bean pie was basically the same ingredients as the sweet potato pie. And my husband, he spent several years, he would do the crust. He would make the crust for the bean pie. He would spend like 4 hours a day from his regular job. He would go to the store that we had to make the bean pies. There were several stores during that time. There was a store, Steak and Take. They had that store. They had the Shabazz restaurant. Everything was, and they make the bean pies there. And then my husband had a store called Brothers Ford Fish Store. He would sell fish. Even he had a big truck that he would sell fish from the truck. And we would do, bean pie was a thing because we made bean pies. We made bean soup from that same pea bean. We would make the bean soup, and that was a meal in itself because it had the vegetables in it with the bean soup. It had all the vegetables in there. And if you would eat it, it just tasted like it had meat in the soup. So it was very nutritional. We would eat like 2 meals a day, and you didn't see any fat Muslims back then. They were really, everybody was really slim because we ate 1 meal a day. We didn't eat like we did today. The diet has changed, and people weren't sick like today. You didn't have those aches and pains like you do now, because you really know how to eat to live, and that was a good thing about that part. And that was a piece that we should never have gotten rid of. I mean, some of us didn't get rid of it, but that's a thing that we should talk about today, how you eat to live, stuff that's nutritional, and we can get rid of some of all the ailments that we have today.
The navy bean, which is what the pie is made out of, Elijah Muhammad always said was one of the healthiest beans in the world. So they use navy bean for just about everything. The bean soup was the staple in the Muslim community. You made bean soup. You could have either whole beans or you could puree it and have the pureed bean soup. That was like the staple that people had for dinner all the time. And then they would dress it up with chopped onions or cheese on top of it, and always whole wheat bread. Muslim sisters had to learn how to make whole wheat bread. We had cooking classes as part of the MGT. So there were 3 things you had to know how to make before you were accepted to, in Islam. You had to know how to make good bean soup, bean pie, and whole wheat bread, and brown rice. We were taught how to brown all of our rice, not to have white rice, the healthier brown rice. So we had cooking classes every Saturday too, and you had to we learned how to make it, go home, practice. You had to bring out your samples. So those were like staples in the community. And then Elijah Muhammad at the time, he had us eating like just one meal a day. That was his whole thing. He had this book called How to Eat to Live, as opposed to living to eat, eating to live. And so bean soup was what you had every night. All Muslims know, everybody had bean soup. There was navy bean cake, navy bean soup, navy bean the pie, navy bean bread. Whatever you could do with the navy bean, you know, they made something out of it because he said it was so rich in vitamins, fiber, and so forth. So the goal of every sister was to learn how to make a good bean pie and how to make good whole wheat bread, you know, all those things that were the requirements. You know. I think back on it, it's kind of funny, but I remember a lot of times kneading the bread at home and trying to make it and bringing out my sample, hoping it's going to be passing inspection, and finally passing, and my rice passing, my bean pie passing, and although I haven't made bean pie in ages.